Oh, good evening, everyone. And welcome to Friday Night Live after a week off while the team was far flung. I was out at EggCon, and who knows where Phil was, and Ed was sleeping, and Jen was there. She was ready to go. But welcome to another Friday Night Live. Jennifer, how's it been? We haven't talked in 2 weeks.
It's been great.
Good.
Yeah, work's going well. I just hit 1K and I just released another long form. So things are looking up.
Wow. Blind Bard YouTube channel, folks. You heard it here. Just reach 1K. If you're not subscribed, please get on over there and subscribe to Jen's channel. That would be great. So, all right. Well, tonight we have a very special guest with us, a guest co-host. I don't know if anybody in the chat has any clue who our special co-host is. We gave a very good clue in our group page, and if anybody's got a guess, they should shout it out now. Otherwise, we're going to let him in here. Oh, there's a hint. It's a he, and we'll go from there. Oh, I see. We've got a few people here with us. Any guesses based on what we told you? No guesses? Well, with that,
To be
here
fair,
he is,
Ron,
folks.
to be fair, I couldn't guess it either.
Levi Combs is joining us tonight, filling in for the slackers, Ed and Phil, who are missing tonight's program.
Wait. Phil is at Gen Con and Ed is at a baseball game.
Yeah, their priorities are all messed up. They know what happens on Friday night.
Hey, total slackers.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves time off.
Levi, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, just had a great week, had a great creative week, and finally getting back to it, man.
Well, that's great. Now, before we get into the crux of our program and we bring our guests on, I understand you have some big news about something you're working on for a couple things you're working on for Page. At least one thing you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, but I can mention both of them. It's not that's not a problem. The first is a module, adventure module for Page, a first edition adventure module for Page called the Iron Cobra of Helgrim Hall, which is just like a kickback to the old school dungeon adventures. A good time to be had by some, not so good of a time to be had by others, I suppose. But yeah, John McGuire and I are working on that, and it's chugging along pretty good. Got a beautiful cover, which I'll share on the page.
Okay, great. That's awesome, and it's good news all around. The Blind Bard YouTube channel hits 1,000 viewers. Levi's got things coming along, and we've got two outstanding guests who are long time, kind of mirrored each other in the industry, and we're going to bring them both on now and get everything rolling. And there we are. And Bill's the first one to come out of the tunnel of the green room. There he is.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
And we've got Rich Baker.
Howdy, everybody.
Hey,
glad to be here.
Yeah, this is outstanding, and as for those of you who may not know, Bill and spent a lot of time at West End Games before heading over to TSR and WotC, where he had a very large role there in with Dungeons and Dragons, which we'll let him describe. And Rich did a lot of work within the Forgotten Realms and area. He also wrote some novels during his time with TSR. And what else? Birthright, right?
Yep. Birthright and a few other things, but yeah, Bill and I were at TSR. I started in '91. I think Bill was '92. You were only a few months behind me.
93.
'93. And we were there at TSR through the acquisition by Wizards of the Coast, and then we both went out to the Seattle area with Wizards of the Coast, and were there until Wizards of the Coast decided they could no longer afford to retain our services, which happened a few months apart in 2011.
Hmm. Well, but you've since moved on to bigger and better things, have you not?
Indeed.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
We are both now at Elder Scrolls Online. I am narrative director for the game that's just hit its 11th year, so it's been going strong. And I brought Rich on a few years ago as one of our senior writers.
That's great. That's great. Jennifer, I know you're always well prepared with questions. Jennifer's actually the only one of the four normal hosts who actually preps for anything. The rest of us just show up and gab away. So, Jennifer, what questions do you have for our guests tonight?
Okay, well, I guess we'll start with I'm trying to think of the best way to word this question.
Uh-oh, that sounds like it's going to be a heavy question.
No, it's not. It's not. What is your most favorite role-playing game, and did you modify it in any way, like with homebrew rules?
Wow. I like a lot of role-playing games. I mean, I started with Dungeons and Dragons. I worked on a whole bunch of games over the years. And yes, we're designers. I think we modify everything we play in some way or another. Right now, I'm actually running a D6 game, the original Star Wars D6 system, but it's heavily been modified by me over the years. And we're trying out some new pieces of that, which I'll also be running at some of the conventions later this year.
Awesome. It's interesting that you say that because we are running a Star Wars game right now. And I watched a video by Corey's Datapad where he goes into detail about the influence of TTRPGs on Star Wars lore. So I was wondering.
That's a lot of my fault, yes.
So you have worked on source books that directly contributed.
Yes, I was on the original Star Wars design team. I wrote the Star Wars source book, which named all the aliens. They never had names before. They would call things like Squidhead and Hammerhead, which I saw as insults, not as real names. So I gave them the names of Quarren and Ithorian and Rodian and all that kind of stuff. The Rebel source book was heavily influenced on the new Andor series, which was written by one of my writers at the time, Paul Murphy. And the Imperial source book by me and Greg Gordon was also a big source for Andor. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I did many, many decades ago is still being used by the Star Wars people today.
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. You actually invented the Imperial Security Bureau, did you not?
I did. I needed a villain for the very first adventure. And I said, they probably have something like this. I called him the ISB agent. And he's the bad guy in the Rebel Breakout introductory adventure in the Star Wars role-playing game. And we expanded that group in the Imperial source book, and we first got to really see them on, I guess, first in Rebels and then later in Andor.
That's awesome. That must be such a good feeling knowing that you directly contributed to lore that still exists to this day.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to be watching the shows because I'm a big fan. and seeing, oh, that's one of my names, and I've never heard it spoken out loud before. That's really cool. And I wish I got royalties, but other than that, it is a great feeling.
Now, what about the Clone Wars? What did you expect in relation to the the prequels? Did you know what it was going to end up being like?
No, they were very secretive. And even though when we were working, we were told that there were things we couldn't write about. We couldn't describe what stormtroopers really were. We couldn't tell you Yoda's planet or his species. We had a lot of rules like that, and we could ask George Lucas questions, but they had to be on an index card, and they had to be a yes or no question, and he would say yes or no. So that was interesting. But
Not even multiple choice. Wow, that's rough.
yeah, later when we were doing the D20 Star Wars at Wizards of the Coast, then I did get to see what was coming out because they were working on the new films at the time, and we would get to see stuff in advance. But no, what I imagined way back in the early days of the original 3 movies, what I imagined as the beginnings of the story were not what were later filmed. Yeah, so things happen.
Mm. And what is your favorite Star Wars system out of all the games that exist today?
Well, that exists today. I like what we did with the D20 version, but I have a lot of love for the original D6 system, and I ran it for a long time at TSR for a bunch of the designers. I ran a 5-year campaign. The game does not hold up after that many years when you're rolling 120 dice. So I've modified the rules. So I guess my favorite version is the one I'm running now, which is my own version of the D6 system.
Now,
Cool.
now let me ask a question. Same question to Rich. Which is your favorite? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to send Bill to the back so he's got no idea what you're saying as part of your answer.
Gosh, I mean, obviously, I've played D&D and love D&D in a lot of different versions. I've played other games as well that I've enjoyed quite a lot. If I had to pick one that I would probably land on as being close to my most favorite, I guess it would be D&D 3.5, because I think we were, that kind of scratched my itch the best. But I will say that there's features of 4th edition I love. There's features of 5th edition I enjoy quite a lot. I just got a chance in the last month or so to play a couple sessions of the new Daggerheart game, and I find that very fun. It's a really engaging. Whether it's got legs and how it holds up across multiple levels of play, I couldn't tell you. We just started playing it. I'm tempted already looking at Daggerheart to grab the 4th edition action economy and slap that onto Daggerheart just to make the initiative run a little bit different, possibly. I don't know, but by and large, I think it's any kind of D&D is pretty good D&D. I may not have an Imperial Security Bureau to my feather in my cap, but I do have a couple of good feathers. Like my work in the 3rd edition, I'm the guy who came up with the Sorcerer character class. I'm the guy who came up with the Warlock character class. And sorcerers and warlocks are still in D&D these days, and there's lots of people out there rolling around with sorcerer or warlock characters. So that's where I can say I might not get to see them on TV, but someday. But I do know that people are out there seeing my content and playing with it, enjoying it.
Oh yeah.
Interestingly. And I know we have a couple viewers here who were at EggCon this past weekend, but Skip Williams had a lot of good things to say about your work. And, when it came to, 3.0, 3.5, because there were some questions about 3.0, why was 3.5 necessary, et cetera, et cetera. And, but he had some very good things to say. He didn't say anything good about what any of Ed's contributions during those times, but you too, he had a lot of good things to say.
I haven't seen Skip in forever. It's probably been 10 years at this point. I think maybe I saw him like at Gen Con in 2015 or something like that.
Still miserable as ever. He's no different. He's no different than he used to be.
He is a 5th level cantankerist.
Yeah. He's rapidly aging towards curmudgeon status. He really is.
Those are level titles, right? Like, right after Myrmidon and
correct.
Rogue and Thaumaturge and Curmudgeon, I think.
Yes, Curmudgeon's up there, and Curmudgeon then becomes Grognard at some point. I don't know when that what level that is, but Levi, you're on with us, and you've done a lot of game design, through your own company, and perhaps Levi's works everywhere. You just don't know it. He does a lot of writing, but you're also a student of the hobby. I mean, do you have any questions for Rich or Bill?
Oh my gosh. Any questions? Wow. What was it like being, back? So, all right. So Bill, what was it like back in the day at West End when, the Star Wars lore was still kind of sacred, like when there was all the information wasn't out there, the internet was just kind of coming around, and, we didn't know everything already. What was it like getting to work on those properties? Like, right out the gate like that? That must have been something.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the movies. I saw Star Wars opening day when it came out at the Lowe's Astor Plaza in New York City. Saw it 38 times that summer. When we got the license, all we had to work with were the 3 films on video, on cassette tapes, video cassettes, a little thin paperback guide to the Star Wars universe that I wrote a version of later, a much larger version of later. The 3 Han Solo novels, the 3 Lando Calrissian novels, the 3 movie trilogy novels, and the art of books. There was no internet. It wasn't even in its infancy yet when we were working on it. All of our research was through watching the videos, going to Skywalker Ranch and going through their archives, and Starlog magazine. That's really what we had to work with. There was no Wikipedia. That didn't exist yet. None of my books existed yet, right? So it was a lot of fun. We were just trying to do the best for the property we love, to make a good game and to be true to the spirit of what Lucas had put together. And, we convinced them that they had to let us make stuff up, because you can't build a role-playing game without adding to what they didn't have in the movie. And once we got past that initial boundary, they were very supportive. They were very impressed with what we were doing, so much that they gave our books to the novelists who were coming on a little after us, and told them, use this stuff, make it all work together. So that was really cool.
No, that's awesome. I got another question too.
Sure.
I'm just not sure if I can get in there or not.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when you guys were, so at the dawn of like 3rd edition, and you guys were all sitting down, and you're passing the notes around, and you're coming up with the concepts and everything, was there a spirit in the air of like, hey, we're doing something that's gonna just change everything? Because it really did. So many people that I knew had kind of gotten out of D&D, or were drifting away from role-playing games, and when 3rd edition hit, man, bam! Everybody just came, rushing and roaring back in. So, was there a feeling like that in the room when that all was going down?
I'm going to let Rich handle this one, because.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was addressing Rich. My bad.
Yeah.
No, Bill was there too.
My role was director, so I was overseeing everything that was going
Got it.
on. But Rich was in the trenches with the guys doing the actual design work. So I'll let Rich talk to that.
I mean, yeah, I would say definitely so. We kind of knew that we had one last good chance to get it right, because the audience, the fans, you guys, right? Towards the end of second edition, had seen the way TSR was tailing off. Didn't really have a lot of faith that that we were going to be able to do anything more in the second edition era that was going to be solid gameplay that really kind of scratched the itch of people who wanted to kick down doors and fight monsters. Because we were kind of all over the map on that in our second edition era. But I will say that certainly we had huge, fans, boosters, help, support from many, many people at Wizards of the Coast. Peter Atkinson, huge D&D fan, right? I mean, he.
I'm not sure what occurred there, but we had some technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. Was that
Hey,
me?
no,
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing dropped.
Ugh.
I hope.
I was just warming up.
Yeah. I'm not sure what happened. Oh no, we lost our one viewer on Twitch that we had. The lone Twitch viewer is oh no. I'm sure Jenn is in a frenzy, but go ahead, Rich. Let's rehash the question again, Levi, because we things kind of fell apart technically.
No, I just asked these guys. Essentially, was there something? Did you guys know there was something special in the air?
Sure, for third edition.
With the advent of third edition, could you feel that there was just something different and special? And another thing, did you know that how awesome and amazing and what a game changer it was all going to be?
I feel that we certainly knew that we were appealing to the kind of core gamer. We were making a game for that guy. We're making a game that he wanted to play, that they wanted to play. Things like, you flip the armor class around and you start playing it a few times with the new armor class, you realize this is just better, right? Oh my gosh, this just works so much faster and better. Opening up alignments, taking away alignment restrictions on things, on various classes, putting in half-orcs, telling people you want to be a half-orc paladin, be a half-orc paladin. It's cool.
Right.
All that stuff. We had a philosophy of in a lot of ways, we're going to present, options, not restrictions. We're going to let people build the characters they want. And if some of those might be suboptimal choices, that's okay. That's your game. You can play it the way you want. But we printed a T-shirt for Gen Con the year before third edition came out. And it was just a plain black T-shirt, but on the back of it, it said like AC 47 Demon Lord, check. Half-orc paladin, check. This, that, and the other. Just kind of going all these sorts of cool, fun things about the system that anybody who knew D&D was going to look at that shirt and say, "Oh, what? That's interesting. Wait, what? That's really cool." And how many of those T-shirts did we see people walking around with at Gen Con by the time we were done with that show? I mean, hundreds of them were out there, right? So we could tell that we had a lot of enthusiasm out there for where we were taking the game, and I do say now, looking back, right, there's things with third edition I wish we had done a little bit differently. I mean, we're game designers; we're always tinkering with our work. There's lots of stuff that we wound up doing in fourth edition that I wish we had thought of, back in third edition. There's things that fourth edition did that fifth edition didn't do later that I wish fifth edition had kept. But by and large, I guess we did feel that there was a bit of magic in the room when third edition was in the works.
Especially as we got closer to publication and the art started coming in, working with with Todd Lockwood and Sam Wood. and I was helping them with the art direction and how we were going to make the characters look and feel. And as Don Murin, who was art directing it, was bringing the covers together, it really started to come together through playtesting and then through actually seeing the books start to form.
Yeah, internally we had dozens of internal campaigns running. Everybody in the department just about had their own internal campaign running, and Wizards of the Coast is very good about saying, "Hey, after hours, if you want to use one of the conference rooms and play your weekly game in a nice conference room with a table and like all the books in the world right around the corner, go ahead."
Right.
What you see, even those evening games, those evening, we were playtesting a system, but we were having fun, and we knew we were having fun. We could feel that the game that we put in front of we were making for ourselves was also a game that we knew was going to appeal, for
That
people
had
out
to
there.
be a good feeling.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be the buzzkill. So right before Friday Night Live starts every week, I'm playing my second edition game.
Sure.
So,
They're all good in their own way. So whatever you
Yes.
like,
Yep.
play it. Just
Yep.
roll the dice.
so we had talked a little bit about how you're both at Elder Scrolls Online now. Can you talk about how your RPG, your tabletop RPG experience helped guide you into the realm of computer gaming?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Rich can throw in whatever he thinks. The thing about most computer games, especially ones that are based on role playing and fantasy, well, they're built on the original D&D rules, right? That's the skeleton that almost all the games are using. They all have armor class of some sort. They all have classes and things along those lines, levels, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the basics of not just the game system, but how we tell stories are very similar. In tabletop, we don't write for the protagonist, we write around the protagonist. And we have to do the same thing with Elder Scrolls Online, because we don't write the words that the player says, we write all the other stuff. So a lot of what we learned in tabletop worked right into what we do on Elder Scrolls Online. Rich?
I would say certainly over the course of my career, I wound up writing quite a few adventures in tabletop. And really, writing an adventure in tabletop is a very translatable skill to writing a quest in a CRPG, right? It's a very similar sort of thing to do. I always found adventures. I wound up writing some adventures that I think were pretty well received, but man, they were hard for me. It's the hardest kind of writing there is, because you're trying to tell a story that, as Bill says, you don't know who the protagonist is and you don't know what they're going to do. That's a tough story to write. So in a lot of ways, a good adventure is just simply setting a stage, right? You put the pieces out there and hope that the DM and the players will choose the interesting things to interact with, and really the choices they make and the things they interact with wind up becoming the story of the adventure. All you can do is just give them as many props and some guidelines, and in a lot of ways doing the for like an MMORPG quest, we don't put quite as many stray pieces out there because it's costly and inefficient to put pieces out there that don't get used. But a lot of the other things are still very similar skills. How do you get the player? How does the players learn about the villain? What kind of challenges are they going to have to overcome to get to the villain? What's the twist? What's the thing they didn't expect? The thing that they didn't know that they didn't know, right? That's the fun things that we're always trying to look at and putting into our quests that are things that also work very well in tabletop.
The thing that I had to learn the most about coming over to this was writing dialogue, because our game is fully voiced. And that's not something we did a lot of. We said read alouds and stuff, but not a lot of dialogue was in original adventures. A couple of lines here and there, but now we're writing full on scripts. And that was a little bit of a transition, but once that clicked, I think I'm a better writer now because of that.
So
I will
what?
say that I'm sorry. I just got one more quick thought. Weirdly enough, one of the things that's one of the best translations for the MMORPG dialogue is comic books. Comic book dialogue is actually a very similar medium because you have to write in short snippets and you have to kind of pick your scenes.
That makes sense. So what advice would you have for somebody who's never written an adventure before? What key skills do they need to know?
Don't pretend you're writing a short story or a mystery. You have to let the DM know what you're thinking. You don't want to surprise your DM, who's got to be able to run it. A lot of early adventures that I used to get back at West End and at TSR from newer writers, they were trying to surprise you along the way. And I'm like, no, the DM needs to know what's going on, right? So that they can surprise the players. That's who has to be surprised, not the DM. That's one thing I would recommend you think about. And the other is it's not your story. It's not the DM's story. You're writing a story that the group is going to tell together. So you have, like Rich said, give them a lot of pieces to play with.
I would say it's for writing an adventure for the first time. Yeah, it's okay to keep it simple. Players are wacky. They're going to do wacky things. Literally you can put 4 rooms in a row that have no choices to make other than there's something interesting to fiddle with in each room. And your players would probably actually have a pretty memorable evening out of exploring that very simple dungeon. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a work of literature, as Bill says. It's players will find their own fun, especially if you have even just a little bit of engaging or interesting things they're going to explore. They'll poke at things. Some players going to do something dumb. The other players will yell at them. That's great. They're finding their fun.
That's our Thursday night game, Rich.
God, good Lord. Rory, we're not talking to this guy. We're trying to fight them. Stop wasting your actions.
So Chet Mitten says, and we're gonna, let's see. We've got artist Chet Mitten. You can see artist Chet Mitten here off to the left.
Hey, Chet.
The artist Chet Mitten says, I'm no longer supposed to play video games after an intervention over my playing of Elder Scrolls Online. So,
why? Everyone should be able to have fun.
Chet, Chet, you look really good in orange. I mean, that orange outfit you were wearing was really nice.
Looks like a candy corn pimp.
That guy in that picture, just
I love Chet.
this is not actually Chet Mitten in this picture, but he was running the used bookstore, which is one of the greatest used bookstores I've ever been in, and it's at the Milwaukee airport.
Yep.
And he was running that there, and I looked at him. I said, "Well, you know what? He looks pretty close to Chet." So we posted a little picture there, and you see now Chet is trying to get us demonetized. You can see his comment down there at the bottom. There we go. But I ended up buying a couple of old sci-fi books there, which I'm just tearing through one of them already, just bit by bit when I can. But yeah, no, Chet's a good guy, and more importantly, when we talk about Chet, we're talking about this puppy here, which is very important. This is our convention-specific adventure that we've produced, and you can see Chet's very specific style there on the front, and really excited about this. But anyway, we're gonna pop that right back. We're gonna stop making fun of Chet and not claiming somebody else's Chet. So, question for Bill, and I think I already know. I think I already know the answer, but Honesdale, Pennsylvania, where West End Games was located. It's kind of a Poconos town, we'll call it, or whatever you want to call it up there. But when you first went up there to take the job, did you think that giant castle on the edge of town that you can see from the roadway as you're traveling north, were you like, wow, that must be West End Games?
So interesting thing is West End started in Manhattan. I got the job while they were at a building right around the corner from Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow.
My office that I had when I was there, I could look out and see Madison Square Garden. So that's where we were originally.
And then they
So
exiled you to Honesdale. Is that what you're saying?
yes. The company, Scott Poulter, who owned the company, also owned a shoe import business, an Italian shoe import business, which was where he really made his money. And that was located out on Long Island. We were in Manhattan. He decided to move everything to a small town in Pennsylvania where it would be cheaper. He could put the buildings together, and he would get cheaper help along the way. So that's how we wound up in Honesdale. I was a city kid. I never thought I would leave New York City, and Honesdale was a very strange change for me. Too quiet, too empty. I would drive back to the city on the weekends to run my games with my game group, and then come back to work on the Sunday night to get back to work. So yeah, it was a culture shock, but I liked what I was doing. We were doing Star Wars at the time, and they just put me in charge, so I couldn't say no. So that's how I wound up in Honesdale. Yep.
So Ed Stark says the cheaper labor comment that he resembles that remark.
So I met Ed when he interviewed for a job with me at West End. He was one of those locals from a town not far from Honesdale. And I almost hired him, but he was still in grad school at the time, and I needed somebody immediately. So they kept his resume. They decided, this was the first time it was decided that they were paying me too much money. So they let me go after I finished the tour game for them and the novels. And they replaced me with 3 people. Ed was one of them. And I think the 3 of them together got what I was being paid, which wasn't all that much actually back in those days, but that's the way it goes.
Wow. Chet Mitten says, Elder Scrolls Online is amazing, but when you don't shower, eat, or go to work, the wife gets mad. My initial question to Chet is, what does ESO have to do with the other 3 things in your life there?
Cold-blooded. Cold-blooded.
Oh, no.
Ouch, that's harsh.
Chet knows I love him. I was his booth babe this past weekend at EggCon. I was bringing in the sales. So let's see. Devin the Dam says, I recently found the dark matter campaign setting for the alternity system, and it's got me and my group hooked. Very cool system. I wish I got to see more of it. Thank you, Bill.
So dark matter, the idea came out of our early thoughts, but that book was put together by Wolf and Monty, I think.
Yeah, Wolf and Monty were the primaries on it, I think. Yep.
Yeah.
Very, Very nice. There was a Anthony Simeone earlier said, Rich, I really enjoyed your Blades of Moonsea novels.
Mm.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Anthony. I had fun writing them. They were some of the first novels that came out in the 4th edition era for Forgotten Realms, and I had a lot of latitude to kind of go where I wanted to and try to tell just kind of any story I could think of. So I started off with the first one. Really, in a lot of ways, is a Western dressed up as a Forgotten Realms novel, because I actually have a secret enjoyment of a lot of classic Westerns, and I was thinking a lot about the hero who's been away from home for a long time, who comes back and finds essentially an outlaw gang running his hometown.
Right.
So as a, it's been a theme of a bunch of, good old John Ford and John Wayne style Westerns right there, I think.
It's I agree with you. Westerns often translate exceptionally well as inspiration for game ideas, even in a fantasy setting. I mean, there was a mini series on network TV some years ago called Lonesome Dove, and it was, had Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones and Angelica Houston, and I mean, it was Danny Glover. It was an incredible series and Western in general, but there were so many like divergent storylines there that I just was like absorbing it and saying, well, how can these things translate in the D&D? Like, how can these characters, you sometimes base NPCs and things off of things you read or things you see, and that movie was excellent for that. And so yeah, I got you. Chet Minton. Yes, Chet did not pay me to be the booth babe. I was not paid. I did get discounted decals. I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun out there at EggCon. All right, what other questions do we have from the group here for our esteemed guests? Surely we have some additional questions here. I'm just going through. Ed saying that he was the cheap labor. Bill, I didn't realize Ed was the one who, Ed was part of the reason they kicked you out of West End Games, and because they were able to hire 3 Eds and get rid of 1 Bill. I didn't know that. That's geez, Ed.
I forgave him.
That's pretty shameful, Ed. I don't know.
What's the best thing about game design in your experience?
Making stuff that makes other people happy.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, having a job that you get out of bed and you're engaged, you're excited, you're problem solving. It is endlessly fascinating to me that every time I'm working on a brand new quest, it's sure, I've done it 100 times now, but every time it's like, what's the best way to solve this that's going to make this really sing and make people happy.
Yeah.
It's just it's engaging and it's fun, and yeah, at the end of the day, you're making someone's life a little bit brighter.
Well, you had me when you said that thing about like after work using a conference room to play games. It's like, oh, I would love to do that. Like, that sounds like such an awesome perk.
I'm a little bit sad. ZeniMax, the company that Bill and I work at, is a pretty good outfit, and it's a pretty typical office building down there in Hunt Valley. I moved out here for and bought a house kind of near Hunt Valley. But I actually showed up right around literally like 2 weeks into COVID. And so they shut down the office and sent us all to work from home. Uh, so, if there was a ZeniMax culture of stick around and play games with your coworkers, once a week after work, I never got to really enjoy that. We did all that stuff online, with, virtual tabletops instead of around a conference room in the building.
Yep.
We do have some questions that are starting to come in here. Here we go. So Chet Minton wants to know, what projects does Levi have on the burner?
Well, thanks for the question, Chet. No, I've got a couple, man. Right now, I'm working with a really talented group of guys, finishing up some projects from before I had this aneurysm. We're getting all that stuff wrapped up. Let's see. What can I say? There's some good fantasy role playing stuff coming out. There is we're working on this project we have called Chainsaw Wizards, Hecatomb Creeps, and Other Ungodly Bastards, and it's just basically an old school style, portfolio of villains that you can use for your campaigns, and they're on the map, and they're all kinds of different levels and challenge ratings and whatnot. I've had a lot of fun putting that together. That's a really, really good one. And another one that really appeals to me is an adventure we have called Assault on Witchgate 13 DCC module. Most DCC modules like whatever 18 to 24 pages or whatever, but this is like a campaign. This is a full grown and fully playable mega campaign, and it's clocking in around 100, and that's lean 100. That's after we chopped out all the the stuff that wasn't didn't necessarily it was fluff, or it was just stuff you didn't need for your core campaign. That'll all be online material later for free. But yeah, there's stuff like there's just a few different things that are floating around out there, but we're having a really good time doing it, and to me that's a huge bonus.
Yeah. Ed Stark says, Bill and Rich both have cool books that aren't RPG related. I haven't read them, but I've heard they're cool. He's continuing. He'd like to hear what games these guys are running at Page. Rich, you want to start?
Sure. I did publish a military sci-fi series. Came out a couple of years ago. Actually, probably more like 8 years ago now. Called Breaker of Empires. First book was Scornful Stars. Very much a age of dreadnoughts and colonialism kind of cast in starfaring empires, space conflict type story. I'm a big fan of the Honor Harrington books by David Weber, so I kind of used a similar inspiration and said, okay, what's another historical era I could use to kind of inform my stories? So I was pretty proud of those. I have a trilogy of Torg books that I'm hoping Ulysses is sooner or later going to figure out a way how to publish, because they're hella fun. I want to see him get out there for the Torg fans out there. And as far as games that I am running at Page, I am running. Let me see, a Primeval Thule D&D game called Acropolis of Vordorain. You see, I'm actually wearing a Primeval Thule T-shirt today, which is very much a kind of Conan meets Cthulhu, world of savage and barbaric game. Running a superhero mashup based on the 4th edition D&D rules, which I think I called the Isle of Dr. Volcano, because it's going to be just big stupid superhero fun. And let me see, I had one more I was going to run. What was it? Oh, Return to the Forge of Fury. One of my adventures from the early 3rd edition era. I get to answer the question of what happens when you go back to the dungeon, a couple of years after somebody came through and cleaned it out, and did they miss anything?
Oh, that sounds great. Bill, what are you running?
Oh, and I got to try to remember what I put on your list. I'm going to run a Star Wars game using my my revised version of the D6 system. I'll be running the one I wrote for the 50th anniversary. It's called the First Dungeon. It's where you and your group goes into what you think is the very first dungeon ever created. I'm going to run a Dark Matter game. Another D&D game that I think is brand new this year, so I haven't written it yet. So I just have a little idea that I put in the event description that I have to start writing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's a fifth one. What is the fifth one? Tour D&D Star Wars. I can't remember the fifth one, but then there's also I'm going to do a seminar on the Star Wars connection and how it's still influencing the brand today. So,
Yeah, we're and speaking of seminars, Rich is going to be joining. He'll be joined by Eric Boyd for a Forgotten Realms seminar. So Forgotten Realms fans, hold on to your hats at Page because
Very cool.
yeah. Levi, you're running some stuff at Page, are you not? Or are you just walking around
Yeah,
looking beautiful?
No, I'm just running a couple adventures, man, that I've written. One of my favorites to run at cons is one called Glimmering Crypt of the Ioun King. It's perfectly sized and paced for a 3 to 4 hour con game. I think I'm doing Escape from Skullcano Island, which is that kaiju romp at high level. It's like, sometimes you don't get a chance to play those high level characters. Get to come to the table with all your toys and face officers and smash things. It's a lot of fun. There's a little bit more to it than that, but essentially at its heart, that's the fun of it all. And a couple other ones that I'm running off the books, but that's the heart of it.
Are you running the Page specific module there?
I'll definitely run it off the books. I've signed, but you know what? That's a great idea. Actually, if we're gonna, I should probably sign up for a few more slots for that. Yeah, that'll work out good.
I think we're gonna twist your arm into running a Hero Quest game too, because you've written one of the Hero Quest supplements. Have you not?
I did. But yeah, that was a wholly different experience than writing D&D modules. That was kind of crazy and weird and fun all at the same time.
All right, so we do have some other questions here. James Iriachi asks, Bill, were there any dark matter products announced back in the day that did not make it to publication? In other words, were any dark matter products partially produced but canceled before release?
No, because we knew in enough time that third edition was going to be coming out, and they wanted to end the Alternity lines so that there was no competition for the D&D product. So we planned out and finished it. I mean, there was stuff that we would have done if we kept going, but none of it got started. We planned better than that.
I think there might have been one product that we moved from being a print product to being a PDF product.
Yes, we did release a couple of things on the website. Yep.
Yeah, I think the Final Church was the one that sticks out to me for dark matter. Yeah.
All right, Ed Stark. Ed's a bit of a perfectionist, if you guys don't know that by now. He wants to tell you you're wrong, that over at your job, people do use the conference rooms to play games.
Yeah. And
there's a monthly board game night there as well, in case you didn't know.
I actually have heard of it. I just I'm lazy. I actually have pretty good home office now, so I'm kind of used to it. But I might wander down there sometime. We'll see.
Bill has no comment. Bill is just staying silent on the fact of things. And what do we have? Leo Gerald says, Levi, I've got books if you can sign them.
I got you, brother. I got you.
And Rich and Bill, I'm sure Leo's going to have books for you two to sign as well at Page. He actually has a golf cart that he loads all the books onto, and he drives it into conventions.
That's awesome.
For all the things he wants signed. So
that's the best thing I've ever heard, man.
Yeah, no, he comes in. It's a golf cart. It's gas powered. It's got headers on it. Comes in. Posi traction in the back. It's pretty serious. And as you can see, he concurs. All right. Before we let you two gentlemen go and we get on to the normal business of discussing things that are going to be happening at Page. Wait, Ed wanted to make sure we're missing stuff. Hold on. Ed's pointing out where Bill will bring Defining a Galaxy.
That's my Star Wars memoir that the seminar is based on. So, yep.
Hell yeah.
Okay. There we go. I do have to say, since Ed joined our staff, no small detail goes unnoticed. He makes sure we're on top of everything. As humanly possible for him as that is, he's on top of everything. There's not a day goes by where I don't get a couple of texts from Ed. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And you know what? It's incredibly welcomed on my end, because a lot of the other staff, they don't. There's like, hey, how many hours do I need to get my free badge? So they're not as active in the actual planning as Ed is. So definitely a welcomed addition to the team. Any last questions from you, Jen, before we let Rich and Bill head off into the night?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from playing TTRPGs or working on game design?
So many.
Yeah. Oh gosh. This is kind of funny. Years ago, I had written, as part of my 3rd edition work, the 8th and 9th level cleric spells, because you might remember in going from 2nd edition to 3rd edition, cleric spells wound up getting 8th and 9th level cleric spells. And one of those spells that I had written for that was the miracle spell, basically the cleric equivalent of wish. Didn't think anything of it. I never play, I never play levels that high. But years and years later, I was playing in a Pathfinder game, and whichever the campaigns it was, I forget which one it was, but the group I was in, we got to towards the end of the story, and the city we were in was about to be destroyed by a giant tsunami, right? A big tidal wave. And we had a scroll of miracle in the party, inventory that we picked up somewhere. And I was like, so the decision was made around the table. Okay, we got to use the scroll of miracle and save the city from the tsunami. And at that point, I went and, as we all did, we all immediately looked at the description of the miracle spell, to figure out what would happen then. And miracle explicitly calls out, hey, the miracle spell can do things like, create an earthquake, or, fix a plague, or, stop a tsunami. Just spelled out right there in the spell text that I had written, 20 years before when I wrote that spell for the first time. And, I found myself in a game where that actually turn of phrase was exactly the right thing. So I was like, okay, I don't think there's many people who can say that their games worked out that way, but there it is. I 20 years ago put that in the miracle spell, and today we are saving a city because I put it there.
That's awesome.
So the thing that
That's
jumps out
pretty great.
to me, when we were working on the tour game back for West End Games, Greg Gordon was running the play test and I was playing in it. And Torg is a game where you can be multi genres that all work together. So I was a fantasy, medieval fantasy halfling rogue character, running around with modern guy with a machine gun and a bunch of other people. And I remember that in this particular session, I saw these guys. They pulled a ring and they were wearing a ring and it let them float to the ground. It was parachutes, right? So he grabbed the ring and figured, oh, I can put on this ring and I can leap off the building. And I was able to roll and survive, but it was, me imagining what this medieval character would do with this modern stuff. And we wrote that right into the rules in the game. That was a lot of fun.
Sounds like a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't think anybody wanted to see me eating my sandwich that I'm eating for dinner. So I put it on mute. I don't think I had it on mute the entire time tonight. I think there was some chewing heard. Though Ed did not send me a terse text about chewing. Someone else did. Said, well, someone else sent me a text saying, "What are you eating?" So, but Bill and Rich, really appreciate you stopping in tonight. We appreciate all the great events and seminars and panels that you're going to be participating in at Page, and the guests are a big part of Page, and we appreciate all how accessible you both were last year. You weren't running and hiding, saying where's the guest area so we can hide, and you were out there shaking hands with people and signing books and just really the spirit of what the convention is all about. And I for one appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. It was a great time and looking forward to it again.
Ditto.
Yeah, and we'll see you in the fall. We're gonna let you go here and let you get on with your evening. I think Bill, your cat looked pretty hungry earlier.
Yes, he wants attention. So.
Yes. All right. Have a good night. And Rich, thank you very much.
Happy to be here.
Nice to see both of
Pleasure,
you.
Jen.
All right. All right. So we have Levi and Jen here. I guess we'll talk a little bit about where we are with Paige at this point. This is normally where I would start to doze off and Phil would take over and start throwing out some facts, but Phil's away at Gen Con. What kind of excuse is that?
How dare he?
Yes, I don't know what kind of excuse that is, but we're going to go through a couple
Poor
things.
Phil.
Here
He
for
can't
you
even defend
real
himself.
quick. Yeah, well, so we're getting ready to approve more events that have come in. We're quickly closing in on 800 events on our schedule this year, which is far more than we had last year. So there's plenty to do. And, if you haven't really combed through the event schedule yet, it's time to do that. So our attendance numbers. Let's take a look. And oh, would help if I was logged in, right? That would help. Okay. We have surpassed 800 attendees.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
Pre-registered. That is more than double where we were on this date last year, and we're our registration's looking very strong. Normally, this would be a very slow time. Continue to register, and we'll see it start to pick up again, maybe towards the middle of September or late September. But people are still registering. People are still sending in events. And things like that. So we are not going to announce a new guest on this week's episode. We have guests that haven't been announced yet. In fact, we somehow or another we hadn't announced Bill Slaviscek until a couple days ago, but things were a little busy. I wasn't able to post a lot of content this week between being away at EggCon last week and a normal job and putting an addition on a house. It's been pretty busy. So, but we have some pretty cool guests that we're going to be announcing soon. A couple of which I think are going to be of keen interest to people. Last week I spent some time at EggCon and served as the auctioneer for the E. Gary Gygax Memorial Scholarship Fund charity auction, where we raised $6,000 in that auction. That was great. It was an honor to do it. Heidi Gygax and her husband Eric, they did a tremendous job putting together that convention, and a ton of good stuff happening there. All sorts of fun. Got to spend some time with special guests, Stefan Pokorny from Dwarven Forge, who's doing quite a bit at Page. He's running events. He's also Dwarven Forge is involved with our huge Shadow Dark mega event that we're running at Page, called Down the Dark Stairway, and that's something that's running convention long, and you can jump in at any time. It's free.
Do you need to sign up for that?
You should, because we have to resource the GMs that are going to be over there running games. So it is better that you sign up for it. But basically, you're welcome to stop in and play. A new group will enter every hour on the hour. So if you show up at half past the hour, you're going to go through character generation and wait until the next hour starts, and then you'll head in, and you can stay there and play all day if you want, or all weekend, or you can just play an hour, or you can fill in time between games, whatever it is. But should be a lot of fun. There's going to be a boatload of special guest GMs stopping in throughout the convention and running sections of it. We're not going to tell you when they're running, to avoid people crowding the event at certain times. But we can confirm that Kelsey Dion herself will be running some times of that. Professor Dungeon Master Baron DeRopp, Mike Shea, Justin Alexander, they will be stopping in to run games there. And Anthony Simeone's the staff lead for it. He's going to be the continuity GM, making sure that everything's running smoothly. And, from group to group, I mean, there's going to be multiple groups with multiple GMs running in the same area all at the same time. And the best part is, if you go in and you've got something else to do, you just make sure your character gets back out and you park yourself at the inn until you want to come back and join another group who's going in. at a different time.
That's all.
And we'll have a nice little graveyard set up for anybody who dies. You'll get put on in the graveyard so everybody can mourn the loss of your character. So it's gonna be a ton of fun.
A nice little memorial. There you go.
Yeah, Chet Minton says the total raised for the memorial scholarship was $7,500.
Wow.
And six.
Awesome.
You know, I know Chet made a contribution to that. You know, Chet. Many people don't know this about Chet, but I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret. Chet's not only generous with his time, but he's also generous in supporting causes in the industry. And he supports our charitable initiative. You know, his support for our convention specific module has been incredible as well. So you know, one of the most generous, genuinely nice people in the industry. And, you know, I for one, am proud to call him my friend. Just as I'm proud to call Levi my friend and Jennifer my friend as well. But, you know, the industry has surrounded me with really nice people. And, you know, through what we're doing with Paige and not sure what I do. I'm not sure if I could generate that kind of happiness if we weren't running Paige. So I'm grateful to all the friends that it's brought into my orbit.
Same here, Ron. I'm
Right
so
back
grateful.
at you.
So grateful to you for conceptualizing this con, because it's really where I feel comfortable. It's kind of my home away from home.
Well, we're you know, that's what we aim for, and I'm excited. I know we're going to have more people from around the country there this year. Last year we had people from 43 different states and 6 countries. This year we've already hit all 50 states are accounted for amongst our
Awesome.
800 attendees, which is incredible when you really think about that. But the representation from the Midwest, specifically, you know, and Wisconsin and Michigan, you know, the upper Midwest, is incredible. The number of people coming from that region. And, you know, I'm so happy that many folks in that region and many of the traveling convention people have adopted Paige as one of their conventions.
Yep. Well, they know that it's the best I can't talk. The best con on the East Coast.
Well, you know.
Easily.
You know,
Easily.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm not. You know. Listen. I don't want to take anything away from, you know, Total Con or any of these other conventions. We just do what we do the best we can do to make it fun. It's not about, for me, it's not about being better than any other conventions. It's about being the best convention we can be for the attendees, the special guests, the GMs. You know, we try to make it about the gaming.
Yep.
And we try to make it about having fun and you know, the camaraderie of being around the game table.
Yeah, and the great thing is every con is special and like has its own culture and it does its own thing. And that's why, like, going to things like Total Con and Paige, that's what makes it unique, because they all do different things.
Oh, very well put. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Total Con. I love Shire Con. But listen, Paige, you know, Paige has that it factor. There's just a little something different about it that really sets it apart. And it, just in my opinion, as somebody who goes or used to go to a lot of cons, there really is something about it that just sets it apart from most other cons that I've ever been to. And Ron, I've gone on record many times about how well you treated me and how nice and good you were to me when I was sick. And I don't want to say that doesn't inform it, because it for sure does. But I'm telling you, man, Paige got that thing that makes it special. It really does.
Oh, we try, and I I'm right there with you for ShireCon. Tom does a good job with that. That's a convention that's about the gaming. In fact, we sent something out to everybody who is on the Page mailing list about ShireCon last week, saying that, hey, if you want to get your game on in the region between now and Page, take a look at ShireCon, and hopefully our attendees will do that.
No, ShireCon's fantastic. I mean, it really is one of my favorite cons to go to every year. I mean, granted, I haven't been able to go the last couple of years, but I'll be there this year, and I really love that con.
We'll have to talk about are you coming up with Peter? Is that what you're doing? Peter Bryant?
No, what I'll probably end up doing is hooking up with probably John McGuire or one of those guys, up through Jersey, and then they come.
Well, if you want to come up with me, if you haven't done that yet, you want to meet at my house, leave your car, and then I'll drive up the rest of the way. We can do that.
Hey, that might work too, man. Yeah, we'll talk.
All right.
I need to look into this con.
It's not far from. It's not far from you. It's on the border of Western Connecticut and 5 miles south from the Massachusetts border. So it can't be that far from you.
That's not far at all.
People are lovely. It's so well run and so nicely run. It really is a great con.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get to see some creators there that churn out some good work. Robbie Conley from Bat in the Attic Games is there. Jeff Talanian is there with Hyperborea. Tom Wilson's there. I mean, from Throwy Games. Levi will be there. If you haven't checked out Levi's Planet X stuff, it's outstanding. You gotta take a look at it. It's whether it's his 5e stuff or his old school stuff, it's outstanding and definitely worth picking it up without question. But it's a fun little show, and again, it's all about the gaming. It's at a VFW hall, or maybe an American Legion. I can't remember. Either VFW or American Legion. You can buy cheap hot dogs and hamburgers and soft drinks, and beer right there. It's it's a throwback convention as well. Chet Mitten just threw in that Ian McGarty will be there. Yes, Ian McGarty.
Another gem of a human being.
So yeah, no, it's great. And you know what? Chet Mitten will be there, right? Chet, will you be there? You did some artwork for it this year, right? Chet?
Come on,
Chet. You can punch the keys out. Let's see it. I don't know. Maybe Chet lost us. Must be that Connecticut internet connection.
Too much New Haven.
Chet says he will be there. Now, Chet, will the black and white artwork be done for Tomb of the Ancient War King prior to ShireCon? That's a big question that needs to be answered. Oh, he says yes. I see it. He says yes. So, all right. Jennifer, anything you want to close us out with tonight before we?
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us this week. And if you have a chance, I'll be streaming tomorrow at 10. I'll be actually talking about my Star Wars game that I'm a part of, and just channel update stuff. And if you have a chance, I'd love to see you on the stream. Until then, see you everybody next week.
Yes, and thank you, Levi, for joining us tonight, and picking up the slack left behind by Ed and Phil. We really appreciate that.
No, man, it's always good to see you guys and just spend time chatting. It's great.
All right. Good night, everybody. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure who our guests are off the top of my head because I didn't prep that far ahead, but we'll get that posted sometime tomorrow. Good night, everybody.